Hey, this is Brandon from Royalty Free Radio, and I'm here with Loitsumestari Taikakallo, the lead guitar player and bassist, as well as Haaska, the guitar player from the band Moonlight Sorcery. How are you guys doing today?
Pretty good, thanks.
Awesome. Well,
Oh,
thank you.
pretty great. Yeah, I had a gig Friday
Oh,
with
no
my
way.
other band, so I'm still a bit hyped about that, but everything
That's
is good.
awesome.
Yeah.
Was that today?
It was Friday.
Oh, very cool. Well, thank you guys so much for your time today. Yeah, obviously I'm in San Diego, so a big time difference here. I appreciate you guys figuring out a time we could do this. So
Yeah.
Moonlight Sorcery, is definitely one of my favorite bands that I've discovered in the last few years. And you guys have a fantastic new record out, which is called Horned Lord of the Thorned Castle. So how did the preparation for this album differ from the previous EPs? It has an incredible mixing and mastering by Dan Swano. Was it the same producer? And let's talk about that production process. And then finally, I'd also be curious to know who composed and performed the drums. From what I could find online, it was someone named Tomahawk, and it looks like they did your previous work as well.
Yeah, it would seem that the album has been like a success so far, and I don't know if we like prepared any differently compared to like the EPs. I think the recording process was actually pretty similar, but maybe we pushed ourselves a little bit more since we knew that there is really like an audience and a fan base expecting things from us. But yeah, we basically produced the album by ourselves with like no outside input other than like the drumming. As you said, that Tomahawk was recording with us, and this time we recorded the drums at Wolf Throne Studios. And the guy who runs the studio, Uwe Boris, like also the drummer in like some bands previously, and he has like some sort of like producer role with the drumming, but like mostly it was just us.
Yeah, the preparations, as Haaska said, were pretty same. I just had the material ready. I gave it to the guys to rehearse, and Haaska also had one song he shared with us, and we just practiced the stuff. And as soon as we thought we had it in our hands, we gave the material to the Tomahawk Tommy, and he had all the freedom to do anything on the stuff he wanted. Of course, we had some basic drum patterns and drum beats, what we wanted into the songs, but of course, he had the all freedom to try his own stuff, and all the drum fills are of course his work of art, since we are not drummers, any of us.
Yeah.
So he has the ability to make those great drum beats and fills. And
Yeah,
like Haska said, we don't have outside producers. Everything is done by ourselves, and I think we're gonna continue that way. That's how things have gone great. So why change it?
yeah, and I think like adding like additional wheels to a working machine, it only like complicates stuff and maybe takes away some sort of like personality of our own. But yeah, like Tomahawk is an amazing drummer, and it has been really like easy working with him. I was with him in the studio for like the week we recorded the drums, and it's like maybe not 95% of everything that is just like happening in his head when he follows the guitar tracks, and then like the rest of it is just like brainstorming and fine tuning that like if there is an option that we can make it like really big and like fine tune the details.
Fantastic. Thank you guys so much. And it sounds amazing. I love both of the EPs. It sounds like the record, the mixing is even a step up, I would say. So on the album, I noticed, there was a bit more of a melodic sound at times than the EPs, and I'm not sure if that's just coincidental or maybe a natural evolution. The EPs maybe had a traditional, more symphonic black metal or even a black metal sound. So this album has some more progressive and technical moments. Some moments actually reminded me of maybe Children of Bodom a little bit. So, what inspired you to incorporate that into your sound? It looked like on Instagram, maybe you guys did celebrate your album release at the Bodom Bar and Sauna. So, please tell me about this place and why you chose it, and how did that event go?
Well,
Yeah,
about
well,
who wants to start?
well, I have like few ideas in my head, but yeah, like concerning the melodies, I think they are like pretty much the same, like over all the material, but of course, like the cleaner production and more like professional mix, like really pushes some things more forward in the music, so you can like really follow what's there happening like in the tracks.
Yeah, that's the thing that I don't think the songwriting is such a big different from the EPs, but I guess the mixing and the sound itself makes them like pop on from the songs more now, since there is the clearer production.
Yeah, that
And
makes sense.
yeah, because the shreddy melodic stuff has always been like the first thing that popped into my mind when I started to compose these songs. That was the main thing I wanted to do. But maybe on the first EPs, you don't hear it so clearly. But now on the album, I guess now you can hear it better. And about the sauna, we saw that there has been some release parties held before, so we just decided to ask if there could be a space for us also to have a party, and there was luckily. So we and luckily on the actual release date, so it was really great, and
Yeah,
it went great. I don't know how many people actually came to listen to us, but there was a lot of people at that time, and during the listening only 4 people left, so I think it was a success for us the night.
Well, I wish I could have taken one of their places. So, there seems to be a strong visual element as well and theme to each of your releases. So, portraying that epic and colorful, fantastical imagery, maybe like Magic the Gathering type thing. So, please tell me about the artist. I looked her up. I think it's Linda Peekinen. Hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But what are some of your influences, both metal or not? So maybe some bands or albums, or maybe even TV shows or movies that made the impression on you for that type of imagery.
yeah, like when we were looking for the first artist to really work with for the piercing EP, I had seen like some images that Linda had posted like in her Facebook page with they had this like Finnish mythology folklore thing going on, and I really liked her style. So we just decided that we should contact her and ask her like what does she think about our ideas and if she wants to work with us. And it has been really like enjoyable experience to work with her. She's really a talented artist, and I think she completely nailed like my vision on the cover arts like every single time. And we knew like from the start that we wanted to have our cover arts like made by hand. So it was like also one of her like strong suits. And I don't know if there's like any direct influences towards the visual side, but like it's just something that happens in my head and I can like visualize those things, and then I just have to like tell her my vision and she makes it reality. So it has been like pretty straightforward process. But like of course I'm a huge fan of like fantasy and horror literature and movies, and like so I guess they can like affect in some kind of subconscious level. But if I had to name like few that could have an effect, like Tolkien and Lovecraft are like I think the best writers there have ever been.
Of course.
Yeah, Haaska has had the most he has mostly done the visual side of the band. We have gave him the access to work on that because he clearly has some clear vision how the music should look on the art side. So we have gave him full access to dig on that. So he has dealt with that. So I haven't put any input actually on the visual side. I just like to mainly concentrate on the music.
Well, it
Yeah,
sounds
like of course I don't of course like decide everything on my own. Of course I like to show the drafts and get the final okay because we pretty much decide everything like as a band like
Yeah.
so but yeah.
well, it seems like a match made in heaven. It makes it much more powerful having the two things come together for sure. So that's awesome. On the new album, there's some really great guitar work, and that can be said about all your releases. So some of those epic sweeping leads and shredding melodies. Was there an effort? And this is probably a similar question to the melodic change in sound. Was there an effort to make these songs more melodic and epic, almost cinematic sounding, or was it always present, but it was brought to new heights on this album? So maybe that was a byproduct of the mixing again.
Well, I guess of course you wanna progress as a musician, and maybe I didn't think about it at that time, but now that you listen to the album, maybe there has been like really eager to show what how much work you have put on the guitar practicing, and you want to show your musicianship, how much you love playing guitar, and maybe a bit showing off that you can do some stuff. Of course, I'm not nearly as good as all my guitar heroes that I really admire, but I just try to do my own stuff and stay behind it, even though it's not as high class as I would like it to be, as like my guitar heroes do. But yeah, I think there was some not pressure, but some. I just wanted to push myself forward and make some more technical playing on the album.
Yeah, I think like at this point it isn't like that much of an effort, since effort sounds like we are like forcing the thing. But yeah, as Matti said, it's like since we knew people are expecting things from us and we really wanted to deliver. But like it just happens naturally at this point, since our vision with the band is pretty clear, like what we really wanted to achieve.
Yeah, I think there was no pressure, even though we knew that maybe this will get more audience and more listeners, but somehow it just happened that it as the one mighty Swedish guitar hero has said, more is more. I think that was just behind, at least in my head, that more is more. I wanted to play more melodies and even more shreddy stuff.
Fantastic work, guys. And yeah, it sounds like just a natural progression. I'm sure it will continue to be so. The album, from what I've read, seems to have a narrative throughout. Can you guys provide an overview of the tale behind Horned Lord of the Thorn Castle? Or maybe that's more reserved for the vocalist, but perhaps we could anticipate some visual or cinematic adaptation in the future.
Yeah, I think the narrative side of the things has been misinterpreted a bit in the media, since there is not really like a tale going on in the lyrics, but it's more to do like with the songs and the structures and how the album as a whole is like arranged, that all the songs pretty much follow each other, like there is no like noticeable cuts, but they pretty much could be like part of the same songs. It doesn't like change keys that much, and the chords are like pretty much the same, and the order of the songs I think makes like complete sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like I think we didn't even think about any other ordering for the tracks. I think this was like the first version, and we settled on it. But there is, however, like a story going on between the cover arts, but maybe some fans may have already seen it, that there is like similar figures going on, but I don't want to like go too deep in that side, because I want the tale to be like personal for every fan, and they can like make up their own stories, and maybe they can even vision something more epic in their heads that I have in mind.
Yeah, the song order was I had it decided clearly in my head when I sent the songs to the guys. And for me, the song order is actually like a video game OST. Like
Yes.
I'm a huge fan of Castlevania video game series. And for me, from the start, you are like put immediately into some fighting with zombies and monsters, and you try to fight through your journey to the final boss. And actually, the last song lets the listener to decide whether we killed the final boss or did it kill us. So that's also something that Haaska said, that we let the listeners and the people who look the cover art to make their own stories also, that how the story goes in the songs and in the visuals.
Oh, wow, that's so cool. Now I have some homework to do to try and find links between the artwork. That's very exciting. I got the new one on the shirt here. Super sick. So yeah, I'm gonna have to see how they all coincide and make up my own theories here. But going back to the EPs, I do want to discuss the EPs because this is how myself and thousands of others have introduced to your band. And it was during the pandemic for me. I remember seeing a video clip from Banger TV. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that, but she promoted the first EP. I think it's a Canadian publication, and that's what turned me on to your band. So both EPs seem to showcase a different side of the band. Piercing Through the Frozen Eternity harkened me back to the classic Dimmu Borgir, for example. Atmospheric and majestic. I absolutely fell in love. The cover art and the sound, it was like it came from my youth, like 20 years ago. I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And a sound and visual element, which I've missed so much. It reminded me why I fell in love with that genre over 20 years ago. And then on the other hand, Nightwind, the Conqueror from the Stars, to me, it sounded a little more raw and evil, but amazing nonetheless, for sure. Maybe more immortally a little bit. So please talk to me about the direction and influences behind each of those sounds and styles. Is it a goal to evolve? I think you kind of told me it's natural progression. But talk to me about the switch from, I think the name was Riku Jakala mixing the EPs to Dan Swano for the full length.
Yeah, I can start. Like, well, most of the songs on Nightwind was like already composed by the time we did Piercing, but in the end we felt like they didn't fit in the full package, maybe. I don't know, but like that was the sound we were looking for at that moment. And I don't think there are like any like direct influences, so to say, but there are like bits and pieces inspired by other bands, and I think that can be heard in the overall sound if you are like familiar with those bands. And if I had to like name some examples, like sound wise and maybe like structure wise, I could say like Emperor and Immortal and Dissection, Halloween, Iron Maiden, maybe like some older Cradle of Filth material, but I think that also like goes to the Iron Maiden section. And yeah, like natural evolving and improving ourselves, of course, but it's still really important to remain like true to our vision and not like let outside pressure affect it. But yeah, like the mixing, Riku is like a friend of Ruttomielis, and the sound on the EPs is like what we were after at that time. And listening back to both EPs like back to back, I can hear like the differences that people are talking about, but I still feel like on a personal level that they are like pretty similar. But of course, since we have been listening to the tracks like hundreds of times, like learning the material and recording it and mixing it and going all over again, and we know like all the parts and all the nuances. So I think it's just so like printed so deep in us that we feel like it's pretty natural and similar thing going on, but there's no like specific reason in changing the mixing this time, but we were just looking for different things.
Yeah, I don't think there was any influence sound-wise for the EPs, at least for me. Like I can soon say some influences on my composing, but like I gave Haaska and Ruttomieli the job to decide how we should sound when we started this. I didn't have a clear vision. Of course, my clear vision was that to have a really clear production, but still that it would sound black metal. So I didn't know how to do that, so I just gave to the guys who are more familiar of the black metal scene and the music. So I gave the guys the decision to pick up how the EP should sound. But on the composing wise, Haaska already mentioned Iron Maiden, and for me the new wave of British heavy metal is I have strong roots in there, since my brother introduced me to bands like Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and Dio you could put there also, and then later on some power metal, Halloween and Gamma Ray. But those were like influences that my brother gave me. And actually people might get frightened of this, but when I started to look my own influences when I was younger, they mostly actually come from the metalcore scene, like the Shadows Fall and Trivium and Bullet for My Valentine. And you may not hear it in the composing, but I guess that's the beauty of it, that I can like hide those kind of influences there also. And also I need to mention 3 Inches of Blood has been a really huge influence, and I think they nail it pretty good. They have all kinds of genres in their music. So those are like the composing influences of the material. But yeah, I didn't have any expectations of the EPs, and I gave the guys the decision to make the sound, and Riku did a absolutely awesome job on them, and we would have liked to work with him also on the full length, but then we got the chance to work with Dan, and I think Riku even gave us like a green light that we should of course go with that guy. He's a legend, and he could bring our sound even to the next higher level that the songs would require, and he made an absolutely amazing job bringing the sound for us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for that. And it sounds like maybe Riku will come back in the picture on future efforts as well. Growing up, I also had all the exposure to all those kinds of music as well, and was around all those shows growing up. So I think maybe the combination and the subtle, maybe it's not even a conscious influence of some of the bands that you mentioned. That's all those put together in your band. That's what really grabbed me and made it so exciting for me. So I can't wait to, just see what comes next. But you guys are on fire right now. Each release is like so exciting. So I just have one more question, and thank you again for making the time with me here. So obviously, myself and all the fans out there want to know, will there be plans for international touring behind this album? I would really love to see you in San Diego, but I would definitely, make a road trip if you guys were anywhere nearby. So I'll let you speak on that, and congratulations on the fantastic new album, but also your discography in its whole so far. So.
Yeah, like we have been discussing about live side of things, but I think like currently we are unable to go touring because of like personal reasons and real life situation, which is really unfortunate since there is really a big demand for it, but hopefully we can make it happen at some point.
Yeah, there has been talks that we would like to play these songs live, but since we are a three-member group at the moment, and I think we will stick with that, at least with the recording and composing wise. So we really need to find some session musicians who would be able to like commit to us to come to play with us live. And as Haaska said, currently we don't have the time since there's other projects and personal life things going on. But fear not, we will try to make it happen in the future. Like we have already discussed that the next years we will try to contact people who would be able to join us on the live sets and start to rehearse the stuff, but we don't fully know yet when we can hit up the stages, but that's something that we really would like to do, but currently it's not possible. But hopefully people are willing to wait until we get the chance to come to play live shows. And and we, of course, we like to thank you for this time. It was really fun, and I'm glad that you and all the rest of the listeners have liked our previous stuff and have also liked the new stuff, because I think this is the direction that we are gonna go with the future Moonlight releases, because this kind of production serves our music better, I think, than that what we have in the first EPs.
Absolutely. So until, you guys are able to perform live, the anticipation will continue to build. And thank you guys for the music. And we look forward to much more out of the Moonlight Sorcery camp. So once again, thank you. And you guys have a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks for having us.
All right.